Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Northeast. I'm Andrew Pritchard, meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. We're watching a cooler air mass slide into the Northeast right now, one that has teens and single digits back toward the Northwest, across the northern plains and the northern Great Lakes. We're not going to quite get that cold, but we will see that cooler air pushing in here on the heels of a cold front attached to the area of low pressure that is departing right now that brought the rain and some of the severe weather in some cases to the Northeast region over the last couple of days. We've got a front extending back from that area of low pressure with thunderstorms along it from the Atlantic Ocean across the Florida Peninsula and back into the Gulf of Mexico. And then on the backside, this is where we're watching that cooler air mass spilling into the central U.S. and spreading east. So we look at the radar, we've got some rain departing the north, but looking at dry conditions for much of us here as we get the Tuesday morning started. Maybe some snow squalls across western portions of New York and northwestern Pennsylvania. And that could be a theme as we head through the next 24 hours or so, just these little bursts of snow. Otherwise, a relatively quiet next 48 hours as far as precipitation goes across the Northeast region. As we look at the hazards map here on Tuesday morning, we see this big area of purple shading from the Texas Panhandle all the way into portions of Ohio and West Virginia. That's where we have a freeze warning in effect with some very cold temperatures, again, spilling out of the Canadian Prairie into the central U.S. over the last day or so, thanks to this big trough that is anchored across central Canada through the central United States, so forcing a lot of warm air northward here in the Gulf of Alaska, warm air being drawn northward here across the North Atlantic, and that means the cold air that would normally be in place then across these regions is forced southward across the central and eastern U.S. So not only is it going to be a cooler pattern across central Canada down to the central U.S. and the eastern United States, as again this trough kind of dips across this region, it's going to be a relatively dry next week or so, as again flow up and over the top of that ridge around this trough. We'll see little storm systems at times bringing some light precipitation to primarily the Ohio River Valley south into the southeast, but portions of the mid-Atlantic could pick up on some of this as we get into the later part of the week. But you see a big dry window here from the Canadian Prairie into the northeast, including much of the Corn Belt, as we look at the next 7 days of total precipitation. The reason for that, again, we're bringing in a big cold and dry air mass across the region, really going to be drying things out and shutting down the Gulf of Mexico, which has otherwise been open for business here over the last week or so. Kind of shutting that down, keeping a front across the region, a lid on the transport of moisture here until we get to the end of the week, perhaps into next weekend. We can finally start to bring some deeper moisture northward from the Gulf of Mexico, but still looking like we want to keep that anchored here across the southeast. So while we'll have the opportunity to talk about some precipitation, more organized precipitation as we get into next weekend and early next week, very, very unclear, details uncertain at that point, and that's still, 5, 6, 7 days off. So over the next couple of days, we'll use the high-resolution NAM model to kind of take us into Thursday afternoon. Quiet as we head through much of the day today, just looking for the chance for maybe some of those snow squalls during the late evening across western New York into western Pennsylvania, maybe some rain showers across southern Pennsylvania into New Jersey, spreading up the Atlantic coast into Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island as we get into the overnight tonight, but not looking at much in the way of precipitation from this. As we get into Thursday, we'll watch another storm system sneaking in from the west. This is Wednesday night. Getting into Thursday now, we're watching the storm system moving in from the west as we wake up on Thursday morning, heading into Thursday afternoon, looking for some light snow across portions of Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois. So over the next 2.5 days, taking it into Thursday afternoon, not looking for much in the way of snow accumulation, but we certainly could see some flurries and maybe a light coating here across portions of southern New York, getting back into western Pennsylvania, where we see some of those snow squalls, some of those snow flurries over the next day or two. Total liquid precipitation, again, going to be light as well, talking about just a few tenths of an inch in some of the higher areas. And we're going to continue to kind of reinforce a front across this region, which is going to keep things much cooler off to the north with, areas starting to warm up across the south and to the southeast, but a cooler next 5 to 6 days across the northeast region, thanks to that trough anchored across the region. So we'll look at precipitation chances then with the European model, again watching for the chance for some light precipitation sneaking through here as we get into Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. We then head through a dry rest of the dry Thursday night, heading into Friday now, watching our next storm system sneaking in. This one could bring some light snow to portions of Pennsylvania and south from there, transitioning to some rain as we get into Friday and Friday evening. We'll then be quiet as we start the weekend. Saturday looking quiet across the Northeast. Sunday mostly looking quiet, but this is when we get some question marks. This is when we're starting to talk about the next round of precipitation as we watch a system come in from the north, a system with the subtropical jet stream coming in at the same time, and so question marks here as far as what kind of precipitation we see, what the timing is, and how intense it is as we get into Sunday and Monday of next week. Looking at total precipitation over the next week or so, again, relatively dry. You see a dry window here across the northwest. A chance to pick up a half an inch to maybe an inch of precipitation across coastal areas here, including southern Pennsylvania. Let me go ahead and change the color and kind of redraw that. This is where we see those, the orange and the red shading showing up there. That's where we're talking about more than an inch of precipitation over the next week or so. As we look at the timing on that, you can see much of that is backloaded across the northeast region, coming at the end of the week into early next week. So we're taking it through Wednesday now, looking for the chance for those snow squalls, some snow flurries, maybe light showers off to the south. We're into Thursday morning now, watching our Thursday-Friday storm system tracking in from the west, bringing precipitation primarily to the south. So now we're all the way into Saturday morning, and this is what we've got. Very little in terms of precipitation across New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island looking very dry over the next 5 to 6 days. It's southern Pennsylvania that picks up the precipitation here as we go through the work week. As we get into Sunday now, Sunday night into Monday, that's when we're going to start to watch the changes here across the region, maybe bringing in some more organized precipitation to a more widespread portion of the Northeast, but otherwise looking quite dry for many over the next 5 to 6 days. The opportunity for an inch of snow, we're looking at the probability of 1 inch or greater accumulating over the next week from the European model, and again across western Pennsylvania, getting into northern and western New York, upstate New York, northern Vermont, New Hampshire. That's where we've got greater than 50% chances here. Now this would be from some of those snow squalls over the next 2 days or so, and then the opportunity for some of that late week precipitation across the region. Your highs for the next few days, 40s and 50s across the region. Today, very similar look for the day on Wednesday. Will be a bit cooler on Thursday with 30s across parts of the north and the west. As we get into Friday, really kind of amplifying that temperature gradient here. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s across portions of southern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland. Lower 40s off to the north. Here's a look at your Saturday. High temperatures will slowly start to moderate as we head into next week. But still talking about sub-freezing overnight lows, waking up tomorrow morning to sub-freezing temperatures across all but coastal areas of the Northeast, and that'll be the similar look as we head into Thursday and Friday morning as well, with most areas below freezing to get the day started.